Ha! Paybacks. Happy Sunday, friends, lovers.
Hey there.
Welcome to 5 Minutes with Robert Nasir.
And Amy Nasir.
Thank you so much for joining us. That was paybacks for that silly video you posted earlier.
Are you recording this? Is this a video?
It's just live.
Is this?
Yeah, well, you see what you get.
Well, you know what? I got to find exclusive content to put up onto the 5 Minutes with Robert Nasir Facebook page, because for those people who have become members of it and Patreon, Patreons and everything, they
who want to hear random ukulele. Yeah. Very nice. Hi there, friends, lovers, patrons of 5 Minutes with Robert Nasir. It is June 7th, 2020, the 159th day of the year.
Yay!
We've made it. We have made it 43.56% of the way through the year. There are 210 days. I used to be able to speak English. There are 210 days left in 2020. 201 days until Christmas.
Almost done, folks.
That's right. 146 days until Halloween. For those of you who thought maybe it was already here and this was some kind of macabre joke.
Halloween is always here.
What a year! And on this day, June 7th, in 1913, Hudson Stuck, an ironic name because he climbed the tallest mountain in North America on this date in 1913. Which is quirky because there were a few things I didn't know.
Yeah?
For example, it's no longer called Mount McKinley.
Oh.
See, when I was a school kid, which was, only a few years ago, they taught us the tallest mountain in North America is Mount McKinley. But apparently in 2015, it was officially renamed to Denali. Some of you out there already know that, and you're like, how did you not know that?
Isn't that an Italian word?
Really?
Denali?
Can I climb Mount Denali and get pasta?
It's a meatball mountain.
Meatball Mountain.
Yeah.
But one other thing I didn't know, looking up, where does Mount McKinley, or Denali, fall in the highest mountains in the world? Did you know that 188 of the highest mountains in the world are all in Asia? You have to go through 188 to get out of Asia.
Wow.
So McKinley, it's our tallest mountain, but geez Louise, that's the craziest thing. Yep. Tallest mountains in the world are primarily in China, Pakistan, Nepal, and India.
Let's go.
Let's go. Also today is National Cancer Survivors Day. You know who you are. We've got several in our fan base.
In our not naughty list.
That too.
In our good list.
Well, I'm also old enough to know, when cancer was the C word. It still is, but there's so many survivors now. It's wonderful.
It is.
And speaking of wonderful, it's also National Chocolate Ice Cream Day. And it's Prince's birthday. The musician, not the British royalty. He lived to be 57 years. He would have been 62 today, because today is his birthday.
Oh, happy birthday, Prince!
So happy birthday, Prince. And so I recommend that everybody out there go out and, especially the cancer survivors, get yourself some chocolate ice cream and listen to Prince. And don't feel bad about Prince, because remember, there's something else. The afterworld. A world of never-ending happiness. You can always see the sun, day or night. So when you call up that shrink in Beverly Hills, doctor, everything will be all right. Instead of asking him how much of your time is left, ask him how much of your mind. Because in this life, things are much harder than the afterworld. In this life, you're on your own.
Burp, 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 burp. Ba-da-da-da-da-da.
And if the elevator tries to bring you down, go crazy. Punch a higher floor.
Punch a higher floor. That's what he says.
And now you know what this episode's about. See, episode 12, 2 episodes ago, when we talked about letting things go, we talked about transcendence.
Yes.
When Prince says punch a higher floor, he's talking about transcending.
Yes.
When he says go crazy, he doesn't mean be irrational, he means be creative.
That's right.
Go above and beyond.
That is right.
Yes, it all relates. Because the podcast of the week, what we've been listening to this week, What I've been listening to this week is the Tim Ferris Show, episode 435.
Ooh.
And you're going to listen to that too. The link is in the show notes after this podcast.
Mm-hmm.
Episode 435 of the Tim Ferris Show is Kevin Hart speaking about his new audiobook, The Decision, Overcoming Today's BS for Tomorrow's Success. So after you're done with this, but not before, don't you dare leave. But after you're done with this podcast, you will go listen to Kevin Hart and Tim Ferriss's episode entitled The Unstoppable Combination of Positivity and Relentless Improvement.
Sounds like he's keeping it real. Kevin Hart.
That's right. Now, why would I mention Kevin Hart in his show on positivity?
Because you love cussing.
The profanity is really, it's something we're missing here. But no, this episode was like listening to a funnier, far more urban version of what we've been saying for the past 13 weeks.
Yeah.
And it kind of hit me hard to hear this guy talking about positivity, but especially, the book again is called The Decision, Overcoming Today's BS for Tomorrow's Success. Well, what is the decision? The decision is free will.
Yes,
the decision is your choice in any given moment.
It's volition, as they say in philosophy.
To be the product of what's happening to you, or to be the driver of what's happening to you. As I said previously, your experience of life, your world, is a product of your past, of what you know, of what you think, of what you see. This is your life. What you experience right now is what you're thinking about, what you're seeing, what you're living. The latter two, what you think and what you see, those are choices. We talked about choice. Kevin Hart would say, that's the decision. Determined by your choice to focus, and by extension, what you choose to focus upon. I think Bonnie would say, fundamentally, what you choose to focus upon.
Bonnie.
In any given moment. So you focus on values and you experience a world of values. Values everywhere.
Yeah.
In everyone, in everything. Sometimes at risk, sometimes under assault, but always values first. Choose to spend substantial amounts of your time, energy, emotion, and attention on disvalues, on contempt, on disappointments, on anger, on bitterness, on hatred. And unsurprisingly, the world, as you experience, the whole damned world will match your focus. So choose wisely.
So you can totally choose, huh?
Yes. So, our theme for the week, because Kevin Hart's life matters.
Yes.
Prince's life matters. First and foremost, your life matters.
Yes.
Our theme is positivity. So what do I mean by positivity?
Well, Jennifer has a comment. She says,
What's Jennifer say?
What you live and what you see is
Is
all your life will ever be.
Fans
nice.
of Dark Side of the Moon will know that one.
Oh, is that Pink Floyd?
It is.
Oh, I didn't know this.
But it is wise. What I mean by positivity, and I think what everybody who gets this right means by positivity, whether they would use these words or not, is values are primary.
I think we've talked about that before.
We have talked about that before. And it's all been leading up to this moment. This is the cashing in. This is the pay dirt. This is the stuff.
Where's the money?
The money came from our patrons.
Yes, thank you, patrons.
They are so awesome.
Yes.
To quote David Byrne and the philosophy group Talking Heads, you may find yourself behind the wheel of a large automobile, and you may find yourself in a beautiful house
Oh.
with a beautiful wife.
Ooh.
And you may ask yourself, well, how did I get here? But although the tune doesn't answer that, And the associated question, which is, where did these things come from?
True. Gets you thinking, though.
That's right. Because the answer is, these things are all values that I produced or pursued, that I traded for. I did build that. Values are primary.
Yes.
Disvalues, not. Property isn't just the absence of theft. Food isn't simply the absence of starvation.
Yeah.
And love isn't simply the absence of hate. You can go on not hating, and you will not experience any love. Values are primary. Values are positives. Absences, negations are nothing. Values are something. See, we don't live to avoid pain. We live to experience values.
Yes. Well, you were saying there before that basically your these values that you have right now, you pursued, and you pursued them in the past. You produced them in the past, and sometimes you lose sight of that. We lose sight of the fact, the meaning of what we have, and that's where contemplation and introspection and thinking philosophically even plays a part in your own life. You can look back and say, life may have been a struggle. Life may have been a series of mistakes, but I kept going. I kept pursuing, and I ultimately produced these things that I have, or I traded others for it.
Yes.
And that's a great feeling, and it's a good thing to remind yourself that you can still do it, even if you feel like you can't. Because I know, recently I've been feeling more of like a spectator than a doer, than somebody who is acting, and for reasons that are that are that are outside of my control. So,
but that's I think everybody gets that. Everybody experiences that.
Yeah.
And you're letting them know, hey, we all do that. But that's why I keep hammering on a few select themes. There's a saying out there right now, you hear it on all the podcasts, and it's in a bunch of the books, which is adversity, and Lord knows we're seeing that. Adversity doesn't shape character so much as it reveals it.
And you said to me earlier that most people say...
Yeah, most people just say, adversity doesn't shape character, it reveals it. But it really does both.
It does both.
That's why I modify that a bit.
So much as it reveals it.
So much as it reveals it. Because
Yes.
it really does both. But it is true that adversity doesn't shape character so much as it reveals it. There's more of that going on. I've made the observation that this country...
Yes, the United States of America?
And by which I mean the people in the country.
Yeah.
And this applies around the world. People in this country didn't change in 2000 when George Bush got elected.
Right.
The people in this country didn't change in 2001 when the Twin Towers were attacked.
Yep.
The people in this country didn't change in 2008 when our first black president was elected. The people in this country didn't change in 2016 when the host of The Apprentice was elected president of the United States.
Oh, that game show host?
That guy, yeah.
Oh.
The point
Is he
is,
president?
nobody changed.
Yeah.
Things changed, circumstances changed, history changed. But nobody woke up on November 9th, 2016 and said, I'm a different guy than I was. I would never have done that thing I did yesterday.
So how does this work into the idea of free will and the fact that people have?
Well,
they have changed.
It's the same people. It's the same country. But it's vastly different events. And the reason I make that point is there are people right now who feel less hope.
I see.
Because of how police brutality is being handled.
Yep.
Because of how the reactions and the protests and the riots are being handled. But also throughout the pandemic, how the lockdowns were handled, how the CDC and the WHO responses were handled.
FDA.
they're feeling differently about life
Right.
and the world, but nothing changed. So what changed was they saw these things that happen, and they chose their reactions to them.
Oh, I see.
Or they didn't choose their reactions, and they reacted by default, as if this terrible thing that happened, because terrible things are happening,
Yeah.
now means, oh, the world has become terrible.
Oh, I see.
People are now worse. Life
So-
is going to be hell because people have turned rotten.
Right.
And they haven't.
Right.
People haven't changed.
Yeah.
And so during difficult times, and they are difficult times,
Yeah.
that's why I hammer home the point that your reaction to that is something you choose.
Yep. And despite all of the generalizations of groups and people and politicians and or however, you're right. Individuals haven't really changed.
No.
And a lot of the generalizations or thinking behind those generalizations is actually not true.
And it might mean that people were worse all along than I thought they were.
Yeah. And
But that's not really true either. It just means that there were more possibilities than I would have imagined,
right.
whether it's 8 or 16 or 20 years ago.
And on a more philosophical note, in terms of, it's not like we've all woken up and now we're living in the malevolent universe. The universe has become evil and corrupt and a real meanie, and it's out to get you. So you're saying that it's actually not that.
It is not that. The world hasn't changed.
It isn't?
Circumstances have changed, events have changed, and these things matter.
Yeah.
But people haven't turned rotten.
Okay. So it's not like this has changed the fundamental nature of human beings.
Yes.
Which a lot of people think is actually
I get
not good, but in our estimation,
I get both sides of that.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you've ever had any reason to be happy, if you've ever had a reason to be joyous in your life, if you've ever had reason to be kind, reason to be delighted, reason to dance, reason to swoon, you
I
can
have.
choose to focus on those same reasons now.
That is true.
And you can return to that state.
That sounds fair enough there, Mr. Wise Robert.
So what did
Sure.
Kevin Hart have to say in his
Yeah,
book on decisions
Yeah.
that relates to this?
Well, what is it?
Well, after listening to the podcast, I had to go to Audible because, unfortunately, the book is an Audible exclusive, which means if you want to read the book, you got to listen to it. And
Yep.
you got to listen to it on the Audible service. Totally worth it. Do the thing.
Okay.
If it costs you, I don't know, whatever it costs, $10, $15 to subscribe to Audible, cancel it a month later if you want.
Yeah, I listened to the Tim Ferris interview with Kevin Hart, and that was pretty good. But I'm sure that the Audible book.
The book,
is
I
good.
swear, it's like Kevin Hart wants to be the urban Tony Robbins, that kind of thing, a life coach for 2020. So, for example, he does lists because all coaches do lists. Here are the 11 things you must avoid.
Little sound bites and
That's right.
easy to swallow.
I didn't bother to write down the 11 things you must avoid because I didn't intend to talk about them and because I know
Right.
most of those already. But he does have 15 weapons he wants you to deploy, and I'm going to talk about the first one.
You mean like ammunition?
Like ammunition.
Yeah.
Well, more than ammunition, the weapons to fire the ammunition.
Okay.
And the first weapon, the very first one is list. Positive mindset.
Okay.
So, you see how that relates to our episodes numbers 3, 4, 11, and 13. Positive mindset. And I'm going to quote him. I'm not going to give you my recap. These are all his words with ellipses because I'm leaving out a few things, including copious amounts of profanity. So if you're going to listen to the book, be ready for that. Most people aren't as sensitive as I am.
He says F and poop and darn.
Oh, you make me cringe. Weapon number 1, positive mindset. Mindset is everything. Our default setting is usually to move through our days like our internal state is an automatic function of cause and effect, and we're at the mercy of it. Still quoting. Every moment brings a decision. You can decide to feel miserable and limited, or you can decide to feel optimistic and expansive and an enduring sense of possibility. Unquote.
I woke up feeling that way, actually. Kind of that expansiveness, that whole idea of I have control over my mind and body, and I'm going to rise up off the couch or out of the bed, and I'm going to embrace the day, and that I have a lot to do, actually, considering things. I do.
Yes. So, you see why positivity, oh my God, Kevin Hart is saying in his unique and humorous style
Yes.
what we've been saying.
That is amazing. You guys are brothers, I think.
Brothers of another
mother.
Mother.
Yes.
Or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, that list of 15 weapons they're all useful. Number 2 is, what is-ness?
What?
Now I'm listening to the audiobook.
Is-ness?
It's not on paper, so what the heck is he even talking about? But what he means by what is-ness is accepting what is. Accepting everything for what it is.
So being reality-based.
And then deciding where to go from there.
Nice.
Consistency, reliability, determination, cowboying up.
Mm-hmm.
What's that? I think it's a less misogynistic way of saying man up, but cowboy is still kind of,
Well,
kind of a cowgirl. You need a cowgirl up.
right. I can cowgirl up.
Yeah,
I can take control of that cattle and lead them to the water.
I like cowboying up.
Ropes.
I like that much more than I'm going to put on my grown-up pants or panties and go do the thing. That was always a horrible expression. I'm glad I haven't seen that one lately. But it was all over last year. You need to put on your big girl pants. Oh, who thought of that? Teddy bearing.
Oh, teddy bearing.
Teddy bearing.
Oh.
See, you get the
Little
idea. You know,
bear.
Kevin Hart
It's a
means
little
by
bear.
teddy bearing is be likable. Feel good and make the people around you feel good. And then he goes on to say, I love this because when I read this, of course, it sounds like, some kind of nerdy guy. But Kevin Hart, sounds like Kevin Hart. So he can say, quote, the outward social expression of your positive mindset, unquote. And it sounds much cooler.
Yeah.
But you get it from me tonight. So there you go. And
Teddy
there's a whole list of
bearing.
there's a whole list of 15. I'm not going to read them all. Definitely worth listening to the book.
I see the next ones here. This takes some effort.
Oh, hard questions Kevin Hart wants you to ask yourself.
No, not effort.
Hey, the hard part was transcribing this. I'm telling you, it's an audiobook. I couldn't just cut and paste this stuff.
That's true. That's some work.
My life is hard. People don't give me credit. Hard questions Kevin Hart wants you to ask yourself. What path are you on now? Well, that's kind of a fun one, but the next question is, who chose the path?
It's a great question.
Where is it ultimately leading if you don't change anything? Whose approval do you seek? And how far will you go off your path to get it?
Those are great questions.
What decisions are you making out of fear? See, we would say out of disvalue versus, or out of fear over love.
Right, or avoidance of a disvalue.
That's right.
Yep.
Well, his next question is, what decisions are you making out of joy?
That's a great one.
If you are marching to the beat of a drum, who or what is beating out the tempo? And then he says, the only path that leads to the ultimate you is the path you chose yourself.
Mm-hmm.
I swear, this is us.
Yeah.
Nobody is in charge of you but you.
I'll make sure that I line up Kevin Hart for our podcast here.
We'll get him on an interview.
We can interview him.
Yep. And then
if anybody knows Kevin Hart, please let us know.
And then he says, and I swear he ripped this off from me, I know you've got what it takes because we've all got it.
He ripped you off.
He ripped me off.
He psychically,
Never heard of me, but he ripped me off.
Psychically ripped me
That's
off.
what it
ripped
was.
you off.
Ooh.
Yeah, it's the woo woo. Jennifer has a statement, a question here. The fundamental nature of man hasn't changed, but can it be true that more people hold bad ideas at some points in history than in
Yes.
some other times in history?
Yes, and I'm glad Jennifer, who's like wicked smart, brought that up.
Yes.
Because that's absolutely right. And my point would be ideas don't change overnight either. See, people do change.
Yeah.
But they don't change overnight.
Right.
And so some things culturally have gotten worse in the last 10, 20, 30, 50 years.
4 months.
But not in the last 4 months.
Oh, no?
No.
Okay.
What got worse in the last 4 months?
Yeah, that's true. It's nothing new.
Who
necessarily.
changed over the course of 4 months?
Yeah.
Nobody. I mean, they did. People changed a little. But the kinds of big changes we're talking about, that took decades.
Right.
It took decades to get where we're at right now.
Right.
All the things we're fighting, they need to be fought. All of the threats to your values need to be addressed. All of that stuff matters. But it doesn't matter that much. And it doesn't indicate something malevolent about the
Right.
world.
Something
and it should
monolithic.
not stand between you and your values.
Yeah. Yeah. It's nothing monolithic bearing down on you, ready to crush you. Ah. No, it's not.
I just need to check our YouTube Q&A here because Facebook's really active. I might be missing out on the YouTube
Oh,
side.
I'm looking at the YouTube already.
Oh, you've got it covered.
I've got it covered.
Girl, you got it going on.
I totally do. I've chosen this path to have it all covered.
Outstanding. The thing about Facebook is that we highly curate our walls, so the best of people are there, but there's still so much negativity that you gotta weed your way through.
Yeah.
6 years ago.
6
years ago.
What?
I
That's when you
wrote-
were only 12.
When I was 12 years old, I wrote, I like to think that on Facebook, the folks who spend most of their time sharing negative stories about the president or Congress or Islam, can you tell this was 6 years ago?
Yeah.
Stories about corruption and cronyism, over-regulation, the abuse of power, police brutality.
That was mentioned 6 years ago.
6 years ago. The rottenness of modern culture, the ideological destruction of modern science and education, the stupid and wicked things people do and say. I like to think they do that to get it out of their system. And that these same people spend the rest of their non-Facebook time happily, earnestly, joyously pursuing their actual values. Yes, I like to think that.
Yeah.
6 years later, I still like to think that.
You know, it's interesting looking back 6 years ago, and I mean, all sorts of things were, you know, you thought, one of the memes is out there is about the hell of a handbasket. And you think that, yeah, 6 years ago, we were all going down. It was, you know.
Where are we headed and what are we doing in this handbasket?
We're going to hell. Oh, heck, I mean.
It's just, it's interesting to see of the things we were concerned about 6 years ago, which ones have endured and which ones were transient.
Right, and which ones didn't actually pan out to be such a terrible threat.
Yes.
Yeah. We've got Jim Ashley chimes in. He says, Jack London's short story, quote, Love of Life, unquote, gives us an excellent demonstration of the survival value of staying focused on values. The story shows that it is truly of life or death importance. Well, that's something we're going to have to look into because I don't think I've ever read that. Thank you very much, Jim.
Excellent.
And then Bonnie says, no one is in charge of me but me. And that's why our illustrious governor in Michigan
Frau Whitmer.
hurt my subconscious, no matter how positive I tried to stay.
Yes.
They were trying to be in charge of me, and I didn't like it.
Yes. And that was a substantial threat to values.
Yes, this is regarding the quarantine in Michigan
Yeah.
here, which went on for quite a long time.
Oh, massive
still
damage
going on.
in business and
Yeah.
what it did to our own individual lives. And just not being able to, hug people in your family and visit.
Or make that decision ourselves.
Well, you remember it got to
processing that ourselves.
It got to where if you had a second home, you weren't
Right.
allowed to travel to it.
Right.
Crazy stuff. Just out and out crazy, no matter what you thought of the seriousness of the pandemic.
Yeah.
I had written Before this year, I believed that life is short, time is precious. 97% or more of your focus should be on values, on the positive, the joyous, the fun, the passionate. That is, on living. And the other 3% should be spent on taking action against the negative. Not on bemoaning evil, but on doing something about it. Improving your home and personal security, purchasing insurance and other protections, giving cash and support to organizations fighting in your name, writing the occasional letter, as I did to Gretchen, or making the occasional phone call to your representatives in media.
Yes, which I did.
And you do those things with 3% of your time, and then you let that stuff go. And the same is true of the news headlines.
Yep.
And the worry about what's going on in the world. You stay informed. You stay ready to take action if action is necessary. And then you let that stuff go. Until you read the news the next day. The things that are going on right now, I don't ignore them. And they definitely make me angry and sad and the whole range of emotions. It's not that it doesn't matter at all.
Right.
But it matters just as much as it matters.
Yes.
And as I say, it's not a sign that the end of the world is coming.
Right.
It's not a sign that the second Civil War is coming.
Right.
The things that are happening need to be dealt with. They need to be fought. But that pain only goes down to a certain point.
As Howard Rourke said.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. It only goes down to a certain point. Howard Rourke of The Fountainhead, which everyone should read, if you haven't already. All right.
You know, if we can face those kind of challenges and still make the decision, still choose what to focus on. You know, if Kevin Hart can do it,
Yeah.
and Prince could do it, Tony Robbins can do it, and Aristotle can do it.
Oh, so many people can do it. So
And
many
you
people
can
have
do
gone through tremendous, just personal tragedies, and
Whatever-
they can do it.
Whatever they had in them
Yep.
that enabled them to continue to make that decision, to choose what to focus on, you got that too.
Yes. And Jennifer says, we can take cans back on the 15th. Hooray! Here, I'm just going to give this a... All right. It's my laugh track.
We might have to modify that to get a little better sound out of it.
It probably sounds terrible.
I can't wait to hear the playback and
apologize.
see what that sounded like. But clever.
If it blew out anybody's ear, so sorry.
Well, Jennifer may know because she's attended our get-togethers that I don't take cans back.
Yeah.
Maybe I will now that I'm a starving artist.
Right.
But when I was a highly paid IT technician,
You didn't collect cans.
we did not collect cans or bottles.
It's highly
Our
profitable.
deposits never went
Excellent
back.
investment of your time.
I'm not saying outright that we threw them in the regular trash bin, but that's all I've got to say about that. But yeah, now that I'm a starving artist and a trophy husband,
Yes. Yes.
well, one of us is still working for a living.
Let me introduce you to my husband.
I work for a living. I'm doing it right now. Otherwise, my very generous patrons wouldn't be so generous. I must be providing some value.
Yes.
So speaking of values, if I could just wrap up real quick here. Positivity.
Positivity.
I don't mean woo. I don't mean nonsense. I never do. If you hear me say something woo, remember, my premise is I will find you the rational justification for well-loved hooey.
Let's talk about astrological signs.
Hey, astrological sign. No, I can't get anything good out of that. But just about anything else, I can shoehorn some kind of actual value out of it. Astrology is just...
Well, astrology is just...
It's a game. It's fun.
It's a way of...
The problem with astrology is people don't admit that it's a game.
That's true. Well, the only thing of value that it actually does give people is a certain set of vocabulary
Yes.
To introspect with.
It's a framework.
And yeah, it's a framework. It's a...
Like tarot cards.
Yeah, like tarot cards. And
Yeah.
and that's fine if you want to think in terms of introspection that way, or your vocabulary of your own psychology that way.
And if you're
But-
not ignoring the fact that there's a silly game element to it.
Yes, right.
It's the people who, anyway,
Yeah.
don't get me on a rant about tarot cards and
Oh.
astrology. I
So
will get going.
feisty.
We'll be here another 5 minutes.
Well,
But-
does anybody have any questions thus far?
Yeah, more
Please,
questions in the comments there.
We'd
Let me know.
love to hear it. We'd love to hear your comments and questions. And
But let me
'cause
do a
you're
quick
our
recap
friends.
before I get to our homework.
All right, let's do it.
Positivity is a perspective. The perspective that values are primary. Values matter a lot, while disvalues and threats matter only to the extent that you can and will do something about them. You are here to live, not to avoid dying. You are here to experience happiness, not just to avoid sadness. And the difference is a choice, the choice of what to focus on. As Kevin Hart says, a decision, which you get to make.
Can I have an amen?
I got an amen, but then I'm the one who said it. Can you amen yourself?
High five yourself.
Amen
Oh,
me.
high five.
Ooh, I don't high five myself on camera. That's kind of nasty. Anyway,
I don't know what language you're speaking.
I can't begin to imagine. So you have homework.
Yeah?
We love to give homework. And your homework for this week is to make to-do lists.
Oh, more to-do list. Wah,
How
wah.
does that help with positivity?
Here's
Well-
that.
There we go. No, the to-do lists I want you to make are to-do lists which do not rob you of joy.
Oh.
So
In other words,
you
they
may already have this, but if you don't,
they're want-tos instead of have-tos.
they're want-tos instead of have-tos.
Aha.
So you need a list of films that you would like to see.
Yeah.
Either favorites you'd like to see again or ones you've been interested in seeing. Write it down on a piece of paper. Once you've written it down on a piece of paper, now if you're sitting around saying, oh, what should we do tonight? I want to watch a movie. I don't know what to watch.
Yeah.
You've got it. You just, hey, let's go to that list. Let's check off the top item.
Right.
Make a list of films you'd like to see or
Right.
see again. Make a list of your favorite music or music you'd like to hear that you haven't heard.
Good.
Make a list on paper. Computer's okay for this kind of list too. Make a list of people you would like to call or visit.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Make a list of foods you would like to try,
Mm-hmm.
restaurants you would like to go to, which are now
Nice.
opening up.
Yes, they are.
Make a list of local places you would like to visit, places you've meant to go. But have it where you can visit that list, where you can go to it and say, yeah, I'm making my way through those things. I'm having those experiences. I am experiencing my values.
That's great.
This is easy. Easiest assignment we've given yet, and massively powerful. The effort versus reward on this one
Yeah.
is you can't do better than that.
Right. This is this kind of thing that will drive away your blues, your coronavirus blues, your I don't know, protesting blues, your injustice blues, all of that, I think. And I was thinking today, as a matter of fact, Robert and I went on a very long drive up kind of north of here to a beautiful place. And we saw a lot of things that we haven't seen in a while. And then we went to Belle Isle, which some of you remember we went to
GlowCon.
for the last GlowCon, and which Mark and Kayla helped us on greatly. And it was a wonderful thing. And I thought to myself later, I thought, I need to make a list. Actually, before he wrote this down, I thought of this first. I need to make a list of all the places that I love to go to. Things that we can just drive to.
Yes.
You know, it takes an hour of your day, maybe an hour and a half of your day to just go there, experience them. We have a lot of water around us here. And it's beautiful.
Michigan.
It's expansive. Like they're like oceans. You can't see the other side. Like Lake St. Clair. You know, you look at it and you're like, geez, that's like an ocean. It's beautiful. It's like, yeah. A lot of water all around the mitten. So yeah, definitely need to do that. Thank you, Robert.
Yeah, don't do to-do lists that give you regrets. What you want is to be able to say, I've chosen this. This is your Post-it note for the week. Write this on a Post-it note, stick it on your bathroom mirror. And
you have chosen
don't
this.
Take it as chastisement if things aren't going well.
Mm.
Take it as a reminder that you're driving the bus.
Yeah.
And at any given moment, if your choices aren't making you happy, I don't mean everything you're doing, I mean just what you're choosing to focus on.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
If your choices aren't making you happy, make a different choice. As Kevin Hart would say, make a different decision.
Yeah.
Put that on your mirror for a week, see if that does you some good.
It's very much like written by and the little arrow pointing to your head. That's a great idea, for your bathroom mirror. Mm-hmm. And we've got a couple comments here from Bonnie. She says, ha ha ha, I'm using my stimulus money to buy a new hard copy of Atlas Shrugged. Poetic Justice Plus. So excited.
Awesome.
Well, congratulations, Bonnie, on your hardcover of Atlas Shrugged. And Jennifer says, I am in the water. I'm not entirely sure what she means, but you know what? That sounds lovely to be in the water. Because I haven't been swimming in so long, and that's so sad. But we will again.
I don't mean it in a subjective way.
Mm-hmm.
I mean it in a fully contextual way when I say, you are the best person in the world. You are the most you. You are the one person who knows and to some extent lives your own hierarchy of values. If that thought brings you anything less than joy, step away from it for a moment, realize there's reasons you've chosen all the things you've chosen to this point, but you can also make different choices. You can do that starting now. In any given moment, you have that power to change whatever you might like to change.
Yes.
And the opportunities are out there. You don't just need to decide what to do about police brutality and what to do about the government and what to do about COVID-19 and what to do about who's in the White House or who's in the Congress.
Right.
You can decide what to do about your next 24 hours
mm-hmm.
and your next 7 days and your next 52 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody has the power you've got.
Very true.
To make those decisions. And the opportunities are endless.
Suspenseful.
A good friend of mine memed me once. I've only been memed twice. The first meme anybody ever did was when I said, we are surrounded by miracles.
Mm-hmm.
I've said it before and I'll say it again. We are surrounded by miracles, not least of which is ourselves.
Yeah.
As I've said before, what I mean by miracles are things you couldn't have accomplished on your own. Things that couldn't happen on a desert island or anything even close to it.
Mm-hmm.
We're surrounded by not just technological miracles, but civilization miracles.
Yeah.
The organizations and the businesses and the stores and the roads and the vehicles and every opportunity to do everything that you couldn't possibly do on your own.
Right.
But the flip side of that is that all of those miracles are simply a blank canvas for the decisions that you make
mm-hmm.
right now and an hour from now and a week from now and a year from now. You have that power. And values are primary.
Yes.
The negative needs to be addressed, but the positive needs to be celebrated and focused on and praised.
Embraced.
Danced with.
Teddy bear hugging.
Teddy bear hugged. Values are primary.
Yes.
And that's for a rational person. what positivity is.
That's great. I'm looking forward to doing my list. How about you? And I'm, looking forward to doing all of that.
So thank you so much to everybody who commented. The show notes will be posted right after the show, right in the video notes. So links to the Tim Ferris show, the Kevin Hart book, a few of the other things that we've talked about. If you'd like to listen to previous shows, many of which were in themes leading up to today's show,
Yes.
you can find those at facebook.com/Robert Nasir or youtube.com/Robert Nasir.
And
Go to YouTube, get our view counts up.
Yeah, and
We're stars on
more
Facebook,
than
and
10.
YouTube needs that. More than 10.
We have more than 10 episodes up there.
I have to
so-
give a special thank you to our subscribers.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And a double extra thank you to our patrons. If you want to be a patron and you're not already, you can go to patreon.com/Robert Nasir.
So awesome.
If you prefer a different platform for that, send me an instant message. I will send you a PayPal account.
Consider yourself teddy bear hugged patrons.
You're the best. The best audience in modern podcasting.
It's true.
You are my values.
Yes.
So thank you. Thank you for joining us. And as always, we wish you love. We
Love.
wish you success.
Success.
We wish you flourishing.
Flourishing.
And we wish you positivity. Values are